Welcome back. This is Dan Havey with CFninjaHacks. And the other day I was in buying Russell's One Funnel Away Challenge, and I got down to the order form, and I found the order form to be interesting, and I started looking at it, and I thought, oh, they must have done a bunch of special coding. And then I thought, well, wait. And it turns out that everything inside of the order form, for the most part, is native, built right into ClickFunnels straight out of the box. Some of the stuff as far as the actual order processing, they had to use some scripts for that, but we'll go into that and I'll show you where that comes in. But for the most part, it is straight out of the box ClickFunnels. So I decided to build this out. And I already built it one time, so it'll be a little quicker for me to build it the second time. And just to let you know, there will be a share funnel available for this inside of the CFninjaHacks.com membership area. You can go in there, watch the tutorial there again, and then also grab the share funnel if you would like. So let's just jump straight away into building this. And the way I'm going to build it is I'm going to make it as close to Russell's as I possibly can. And I will show you on how to go in and inspect all of the elements, take a look at what they are so that you can really basically clone this form completely. Now, again, like Russell always says, you want to go in and model what people are doing. You don't want to steal their content. You don't want to steal their text. But in this case, it's an order form. And so we're really not stealing anything. All we are doing is modeling the way that they built and designed their order form. So let's just go in. We're going to add a new step. And this step is going to, let's just call it our OFA Order Form. And we'll create the step. And we'll go up to the top because we need an order form type of template to start with. And the reason why we want that is it has to have all these certain elements built into it, and every one of these forms has different elements built into it. And you'll see in my Hacks 101 training how I talk about which ones you should and should not ever use, and there's actually only one you should ever use. So we're going to go in, we're going to click on the order form, we're going to pull up the templates for the order form, and we're just going to grab one because it doesn't matter, because we're going to completely wipe out everything that's inside of it. And we'll go in and edit the page. Now you see up here at the top already a title for that template has popped up. So that's one of the things we definitely want to clean up inside of this form. And we're going to do that first before we ever start building anything. So what I'm going to do is I have a little snippet of code up here. I do believe it was written by Jamie Smith. I think you can get it at Funnel University. It just says, gut this thing. You click on that. It wipes out everything on the page except for the background image. So we'll go in and click on background image and just click on that and delete that out. So the background image is gone. Background color we want set to white, which is pound with 6 Fs. So we have our background image set as white. Now, before we go any further, I want to jump into a couple of things. Let's go down here first to our typography. And let's set the content font and the headline font. Now, having already done this once, I know that what we want is Montserrat. So we're just going to go into our content font. It's inside of the Google fonts, and we'll just click on M, scroll down till we find it, and there we have our content font set. Also on our text color, because throughout most of it, when you look at the code, it says that it is inherit. So it's inheriting the text color, and where it inherits it from is right here. And the text color they use is pound 2F, 2F, 2F. And let's see if I have it stored in here somewhere. Well, I thought I did. Yeah. So they're all RGB colors. So it's pound 2F, 2F, 2F is what they used for their colors. And the link colors, there aren't any, so we won't worry about that. Now let's go back into our SEO metadata. And right now we have the title that came with that template. And so let's just change that and just say OFA Challenge Order Form Hack. And let's just copy that and put that in the description as well. None of this is really necessary. Chad was the one who created the original template. We'll just take his name out, and that's good enough for our SEO metadata. And then let's go into our custom CSS. We could do this later, but there was a lot of custom CSS in that template that Chad had made, and so we're going to delete that out. And then let's just see if there's anything in the tracking code. I don't think there was, so nope, there's nothing in the tracking code. And that should be it. General settings, integration, those kind of things we're not worried about for this example. And we'll hide the affiliate badge and all that. So let's just save this. And now we are ready to get to work. So to get to work, let's go over and look at our existing that we want to model. And first thing I'm going to do is scroll all the way back up to the top, because what there is, you see here, there's this fine box around the outside edge, and then that travels all the way down the entire document. Now I'm only going to build just the order form. I'm not building the whole page out here. That would take me a lot of time. So we got the outer edge, and then we have an inner box. So this here is actually the outer edge of the section, and this is the outer edge of the rows. And essentially what we have here is 6 rows stacked on top of each other. So we have to create first this outer edge of our section. So let's click here and see if we can find what we're looking for. Now, what I want to do is go back here and show you what I did. So right click and inspect. Now I am using a Mac computer and I'm running Chrome. So your inspect tool may look different. It may say inspect element here when you're clicking on it, and where this pops up, it could be attached to the side of this window. It could be attached underneath. It could be floating free. It's going to look different no matter what. So just be aware of that. What you're going to see on your screen is not exactly what I'm showing, but for the most part, it will give you the same information. So we come in and we see by highlighting this blue area, it is highlighting the area that we're looking for. So this is, anytime you scroll over in this area here, or hover over, it will highlight the area on the screen. So this is the entire section that we're looking at, and you can tell because its class name begins with container. And so what we want to do is look at, okay, what size is this container? Well, if you look at the code inside of the class, it says it right here, wide container, radius 0, shadow of 20. That tells us a whole bunch about how we want to build this section. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to add a new section. And we said here, wide container. So we're going to go with a wide container. Okay, so we have our wide container. Now it said that we have, let's see here, we have radius of 0, so it has square corners, and it has no border on it, but it does have a drop shadow of 20. So we go here, drop shadow of 20, and it goes around it. Now, let's go back into here, and we're going to do a couple things only to make it show up better on the screen as we're working. So we're going to put a bunch of padding at the top, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to actually put another section below this, full width section I'll throw in, and for that we will put in, let's put in 20 padding at the top. So now we have this full width section. The only reason I'm doing this is as we build this out, that way I can scroll down and we can see the actual bottom of the document a lot better. It's just to make this part look a little better as we're working on it. Okay, now the next element we want to work on is, well, let's do this. let's just so we can kind of tell how things look. Let's just do this little part right here, just this blue section at the very top. So let's we're going to put in a row, a 1-column row. And so let's come into this 1-column row over here. We're going to right click again. We're going to inspect. And what does it tell us about this row? Okay, so it has a padding top of 25 pixels, padding bottom of 35 pixels, no margins on it, and is 95% of the width. So again, we'll come back into our row. And we're going to go 95% width and 25 and 30. Now, the next thing we want to look at is what is the background color? Well, it tells us right here in RGB what the background color is. And we could use the RGB, but let's just click on the little box. And we can come down and we can click on these arrows, and it changes it from RGBA to HSLA to our hexadecimal code. And anytime you want to copy this, then you just come up, you click right in that big blue circle. At least in this case it's blue. And we're going to go in, put in our background color, and we're just going to paste that in. Now we have our background color of blue. And just for the sake of making this look a little bit better, let's just beef this up a little bit. Just to give it an area, just so it sets off the what we're going to build below it a little bit better. Okay, so we got that row done. That takes care of this. Now we need to start on this red row where it says step 1. So first thing we need to do is add another row, and we're going to make that a 1-column row. Okay, now let's go back over here. We're going to right click in where it says step 1. Now what you see what happened on my screen is all of a sudden this color picker popped up. That happens a lot of the time, especially in Chrome. If that happens, just come in here, and where you see the blue little toggle color picker, just click on that and turn it black, and that will turn off that color picker. So now we'll come back in, we will right click into the red area, and we'll find what we're looking for. Right here is our row that we're looking for. You see how it highlighted it, but it highlighted it outside. See here, we're just highlighting inside the red. Here we're highlighting outside the red, and that's what we're looking for to begin with, because we have to figure out how we want this to look. So again, we'll take a look up here. So we got padding 10 and 10. We got a margin of 20 on the top. Shows us our background color. We got a width of 80%. So let's go back in here and take care of those things. That's not what I meant to do. Go back into the row. So we got 10, 10, 80 on the width. And what do we have? Margin of 20 at the top. Okay, let's go back in. Yeah, margin of 20. And then we're going to look at the background color again. Change it to the hex color. Copy it. Come over to background. And we will paste that in. And now we have our row set. Inside of the row, we have, of course, our text. So we're going to right click over here onto the text, and we have that thing popping up again. Let's get rid of that. And so we'll come back up, right click on the text, inspect that. And we have to look at, see, here it goes, element, headline, wrapper. So that's what we're looking at right there. So it has a top margin of 0. And you just kind of click on these things and you open them up and you see, okay, what are we looking at? Okay, so we got a font size of 32 pixels. We got a color of that's white or FFF. And so we know that. We got a line height of 1.3. And that's all we need to know. So let's go in here. We're going to click on this. We're going to add an element. and we're going to use a subheadline element. And if you've looked at any of my other training, I go into in depth on why you should only use one headline element ever, and that's because I built a plugin that actually turns all of the headlines and subheadlines and paragraphs into H1, H2, and P tags inside of ClickFunnels, and so I only ever use one headline element. The rest I always use is sub-headline elements. So we're going to clean this up, and we're going to say step 1, and I'm purposely doing this lowercase, and I'll show you how to fix that in a minute. Contact information, and so we're going to highlight this again. We are going to make it bold. We are going to make it left, and then we're going to go in, open up the editor. Bold colored text is set to white. That's good. And we had 32 pixels, I do believe, on the size. Yes, 32 pixels. Now, right now, ours is lowercase, and I want to make this all uppercase. So we come back into Advanced, and we scroll down to Text Transform. Uppercase automatically puts it into uppercase. So you can type it all in as uppercase, or you can type it in Camelback script and then just click on that and make it all uppercase. Now for me, if you look at what we have going on over here, let me get that highlight off. I always think that the white on top of a red or orange or something like that especially just kind of washes out. So what I like to do in this case is to put a little bit of CSS code in that makes this pop out a little bit better. So we're going to go into our settings. We're going to find our CSS ID selector. We're going to copy that. We're going to go up into our CSS, and we're going to put this in, left curly bracket. You can do this any way you want. Sometimes I'll do 2 carriage returns, put in the right curly bracket, because otherwise you forget it sometimes. And now what we want to do is we want to put in a text shadow, and we want that text shadow to be 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 0 pixels, and we want it to be black. Okay, now what this says is we want the text shadow to be to the right side of the lettering 1 pixel, to the bottom of the lettering 1 pixel, and we want the blur to be 0. So we don't want to blur at all. We just want it to be a solid line, and we want that solid line to be black. So you see what it does. It really makes the lettering pop out. Now we could go in and let's see what happens if we make that blur 1 instead of the 0. And it doesn't really change it much at all. Maybe I'll just leave it there at the 1 across the board on the CSS. So it's that simple to be able to do it. Now, as we build out the rest of this and we build out the other headers, we'll then have to take the CSS ID for those headers and put it in as well. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Because we got this one done, so the next thing, best thing to do at this point, I think, is let's just clone this and let's make out the other 2 headers. So the next one says step 2 billing. Okay, we got step 2 of billing. Now what you see here is there's a little bit of a space. You can't probably even see it here, but you can definitely see the white here in between. There's a little bit of a space there. So we want to go in and we want to change the settings. And what we want to do is to make this setting not 0, but we want to make it 2. So you just highlight the 0, you put in a 2, you click outside of it, and you saw it popped it down and made it 2 pixels there. And then we're going to clone this box, this row, one more time. And we're going to put in our step 3. And it's also want my training. Is that what it says? Question mark. Also want my training. And we have the 2 pixels at the top. So that should be it, except that we have to fix up that CSS for these other 2 elements. So let's come down, grab this, and actually let's look at this one right away because it's going to have a very, very similar number. There should just be 3 more numbers. Yeah, 146 appended at the end of it. So we can come back into our custom CSS. What you want to do is hit carriage return a couple times there. We're going to do Control V, dash 146. And how we do this now is we come to the very first one and we put a comma after that. The second one we put a comma. Third one we do not put a comma, but we put a space and we pull the left curly bracket back up. And now all 3 of them should be nicely highlighted and we are ready to go there. So the next part we have to work on is the row below it with the shipping, full name, email address, all that. So we already know what we have to do to start with. So let's just go in. Let's just create a new row. Let's not clone that one. It's going to be a 1-column row. And we already know that we have to bring it down to 80% because that's what the one above it is. And you're going to see here we have the same drop shadow. Let me inspect this and show you. We have the same drop shadow that we had on the very first element. In fact, it says here we got a drop shadow of 10, not the drop shadow of 20 that we had before. We got a padding of 20 and 20, margin of 0, width of 80. Okay. So we got 20, 20, no margin at the top. And we needed a drop shadow of 10. Okay, let's back out of that, see how it looks. Okay. Now inside of here, we have to put in a couple of elements again. We're going to start off with our sub-headline element. And what this says is full name, colon. We know clearly by looking at it that it is bold and it is to the left. But now let's come in and inspect it. So it does say it's bold, which is 700, plus there's a bold and a strong tag right there. And we know it's aligned left, and the font size is 16 pixels. So we'll come back up into here. And we will drop this down to 16 pixels. Now, also what we need to do is we need to turn that our inherit color, our inherited color, which is our 2F pound 2F is what it is. Okay, so it's this box down here. So we did that. Now, one thing I just remembered that I did not do when I created this original box up top here is I did not go in and change the line height. It should be 1.3. And so that does change it slightly. So let's fix that up so that the template is correct. Okay, we have that right. Let's come back in. Let's take a look at anything else we need here. Line height normal. Okay, so we got the full name. We got that done. So now let's create the other elements as well. We know we're going to need one for, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing there. We need a similar element for our email address. So let's just create that right away. And I'm not sure if we need one for the shipping. I don't remember right now if we do or not. So we'll just leave that alone for now. That may come in with the element that we're going to put in. So underneath the full name, we need to put in our input item, which is going to be our, let me see, let's find the input element. There we go. Now clearly, let's just right click inside of here, take a look at what we have. We have a we have a margin top of 5 pixels. And we're going to set our full name. Name as appears on card is what we have for our placeholder text. Oops. Yeah. And this will be required, yes. Says font family, Open Sans. That should have defaulted to Montserrat, so let's change that. Okay, and I do believe the font size, nope, font size is 14. Okay, now the other thing you're going to see here is with the example that Russell did, you have square corners and you have basically just a straight line, no shadow, nothing else. So let's work on that next, because we're going to come into our themes, and this is where you're going to find this, and we can click on Basic Input, and that gives us just a straight line all the way around, except we still have rounded corners. So we have to come into our Advanced, and we have to take out that corners. So we'll put those square. And now that is all fixed up and ready to go. So the next thing we want to jump into is our address. You can see it's way too tight. So let's click on the address or the email address, and let's see what they have for a top margin on that element. We got 20 for our margin on the top. And then we're going to just clone this element, drag it down. Well, that's not where I want it. Come on. All right, when that doesn't work, I'll grab the email and pull it up top. There we go. Now it's where we want it. Takes a little work sometimes. So we're going to change the only thing we need, we need to change this to an email address, which automatically makes the required appear. And then we're going to put in your email address here. And we got Montserrat, we got 16, and we should be good to go there. Now, next element we need is the shipping address element. And you would think that the shipping address would be up here with all of the order form stuff. Well, it's not. You actually got to scroll way down to the bottom. And, where is it now? Here we go. Under Advanced Form, Shipping Address. Click on that. And it popped it in. And I was right. The shipping address does not populate. So let's start off by cloning this element. Pull it down. And we'll just change this. Okay, so we have our shipping address in place. Now, next thing we need to do, let's take a better look at this. Okay, what we have is we have square corners on all these elements, and we have a drop shadow. Well, the problem is we don't have a drop shadow up here. So for me, I want this to look the same as this on top. So what are we going to do to make that happen? Let's just take a look inside of the element to begin with. Okay, we'll increase. See here again, the font size is smaller than up here, so let's make that the same by moving this up to a 16. And then there are no theme, and so we can go into our advanced, text align left, corners. We can square off those corners, but we still have the shadow inside of these boxes, and I want to get rid of that. So let's save this, which I should have been saving all along. I just showed you some bad practice there. Make sure you save as you're going along, or you're going to want to kill yourself after you just did all this work and you didn't save it. So let's do that and let's preview it. See how it's looking so far. Okay, it's looking good. But now we want to get rid of the shadows on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, we're going to inspect this box. And what we're looking for is a box shadow. So right down here, we have box shadow. And if we turn this off, you're going to see the box shadow go away inside of the element. So we're just going to have to write a little bit of CSS code to tell that to display none. And I can show you here, we can come in here, we can just click on this and we just type in the word none and it'll go away. So what we have to do is we have to target the class selector of CEO input and just tell it we want a box shadow of none. So we'll go back into our CSS. We will type in box shadow, none, semicolon. And now before we go any further, let's do one more thing. Let's put in some comments so we remember what this is. So this up here at the top is the text shadow for section headers, which we may also use for the buttons as well. And what this does is this will remove the box shadow from the shipping input. And obviously what you do within CSS to make a comment is you use the slashes and the stars. So let us save this and make sure it is working properly. Okay, well, nope, it didn't work. So let me see. Wrote down here. Okay, so I did need the word important at the end. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't need it. So always do the code, check it. Then if you don't, and if it's not working, then just put in the word important at the end of your code. I will show you exactly what to do. Just come in and just put it in there. What this says is that this piece of CSS is the most important piece of CSS, and it should override all other CSS for this particular element, is what it really should do. Override for that element. So fix my typo, and we will save, and now it should be working just fine. Yep, there we go, cleaned it up. Okay, next thing we can look at is we have one more element in this box, and it is the button. And so let's scroll this up. So we'll come back here. What we're going to do is add an element. Oops, I went past it. Where is it? I'm going to add the button element. Now let's see what this says about our button element. We got a margin top of 20, And okay, here we get into the color and stuff. Okay, so let's increase that to 20. And it just says next step. Font size should be 30 pixels. Font color, background color. Again, we'll click on that. Change this. We'll copy that. We'll turn off that so we don't have to deal with it anymore. And we will go into the background color. Change that. Now let's go into our advanced settings. And what we want to do, scroll down, text transform, uppercase, and we want to pick an icon for after because they have the two double arrows there. Pick the icon for after, and it is right there. Now, we're not going to set the button action right now because what the button action does is when you click on it, it opens up the element below the billing. It opens up the credit card area, and we haven't built that yet, so we'll have to come back later and put that in. So let's take a look at how it works on the original. You fill out all your information above, then you click on next step. And the next step opens up the credit card element. So let's come in to our original. Let's just clone this section and move it down into the billing. And then while we're at it, let's clone it again because we need another one for under our last section. Move that down. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Believe it or not, we're about 3/4 of the way done. So we don't want any of what's in here to remain. So we'll just delete it all out. Well, actually, what we are going to leave is the button because we're going to need that again. So let's open this up. And we're going to put in a new element, which is going to be our credit card element. And we will move well, we will try to move this up. Well, come on. There we go. All right. So we got that up there. Now let's go in and take a look at a couple things. I can see already that the whole credit card element, we have a margin top of 0. So we will bring this down to 0. And we also have, let's see what size this font is. We have a font of 16, font weight bold. So we will change the inputs and the labels to 16. And we will also set the font to our Montserrat again. And our label text color, we will go with our 2F, 2F, 2F. There we go. And one thing I didn't notice until just now is they actually changed what these boxes look like from the original to something else. So let's take a look at what they did there. I think we're going to skip over that part for right now. And if I have a chance later on, I'll add something at the end of this video once I take a look at how they did that. So actually, let's just skip over that for right now, and we'll come back to it after we're finished filling out or building the rest of the form out. So the last part we have then is once you put in your credit card information, you click on next step, and up pops Russell, and an order bump, and also then the summary of what you bought along with a button and another image. So let's take a look at how we can make that. So we'll come down, and first thing we're going to do again is just delete out everything on this page. Inside of this row, I should say. We'll leave the button. So first thing we have is a button. I'm sorry, an image of Russell. So we'll just put in an image. Go to our settings, and now I already did this once, so I have that image of Russell already in my images. Double click on it. Now, as you can see, clearly the image is way too big. So what we want to do is go into his image. Going to inspect that image to see how big it is. So we'll scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it has a width of 450 pixels. So we can come back into our image, and we will set our width at 450. And we are done with that. Except we need to move it up. Okay, now we have an order form, or an order bump. So let's put in an order bump into ours. Order bump, there we go. And you can see, obviously, the colors are completely and totally different. So we're going to have to go in and do a lot of seeing what colors there are and putting in the text and all that. So let's just start with this box, and we'll right-click and inspect and check out, see what color blue that is. Scroll back up to the top. And the background color is right here, and you can see it's 1F whatever. So we'll just, again, we will copy that. We'll turn that off. Come back inside of our order bump. And so this is the headline background color. We will change that out. Next, let's see what is the background color of the entire bump. Background color right here. Again, we'll click on it. Turn this into our hex code. Copy it. Come back over here and paste that in. Okay, we're starting to get there. Now they have a border all the way around, except theirs is much lighter than ours. So we should, from where we are, be able to find the border color. So here it is, three pixel dashed border. So we can go in, copy that, and we got border color here at the bottom. Okay. And now we have headline color, which you can clearly see from over here is white. Got that as well now. And let's go back into this headline. Let's see what size of a font that is. We have 26 pixel font for the headline, and for the text area, let's see what that is. Font size is 16. Okay, we're starting to look like it. So now let's go in and let's change out our text. And in this case here, I'm just going to come in here and copy all this text. And put it there. Same thing with this text. I'm just going to copy it. And over here, he has one-time offer, only $37. That goes here, except it's not all caps. So we have one last thing to change, and what that is this text, which was called the What was that? This is our OTO headline. So our OTO headline text here is red, here it's white, and there's nowhere inside of here to change it. So we're going to have to change that with CSS. So first thing we want to do is we want to save and preview what we have going on so far. And you want to do it like this. You have to go into the preview in order to get the CSS ID selector for this element. So we'll scroll down, right click, inspect. You're going to come down to where this B is. You're going to right click on that B, copy selector. Okay, we can close this out. We'll go back into our custom CSS. Paste that in. Do our curly brackets. And we will say color, pound, what was it? CC3300. And you can see down here at the bottom, it already changed it. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to change out our button. We have to put in an image at the bottom, and we have to deal with the actual order itself. So let's do the easiest one first, which is to put in that image. So we'll put in another image element. And again, I'd already done this once, so the image is already stored inside of my images. And we'll just right click on that, or sorry, double click on that, put it in. Now again, you can see the size is a little bit too big, so let us inspect this element. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you see it's got 316 on its width, and it has top margin of 15. Okay, so that is done. And let's look at the button. So let's open up our button. And what action we want on this button is, at this point here, our order is complete. So we just want to submit our order. And now let's clean up what the text and everything looks like. And we're going to say, yes, start the one way challenge, exclamation mark, and the double arrow at the end. Okay, so let's just go back and right click and inspect this, as long as that's the way we've been doing this all along. And our font size is 26, our color is white, and so font size of 26. Oh, and one last thing I have to change is I have to get rid of all that uppercase. Put that back to normal. Okay, so the bottom part there is done, except we have one more element to put in. And this is where it starts to get a little tricky, because what they had to do to make this form work the way they had to make it work is they had to have Jamie Smith write a bunch of code. Now, I don't know if this specific code is available in Funnel U, but you could certainly look there to see if it is. I will show you how to do it, how to put it together, but there's some specific code you're going to need in order to do it, and this right now is not the place or time to be going into some in-depth JavaScript explanation at this point. So we're not going to do that, but I will show you the mechanics of how this is set up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in, we need to create another element, and that element is our order summary. And I can see right now we need to decrease the margin there at the top just a little bit. Bring this down to 20. Oops. And for some reason, they never have the A capitalized, so let's just capitalize that. And the font size and everything looks okay. So this will dynamically show you what you are ordering on the page. Now again, ours is not going to work the same way as theirs because they had to put in 2 items. But again, I'll show you that here in a second. Now, the other thing they had to do on this page is they had to hide the actual select form. So where you would go in and click on your radio button of what you wanted, it's on this page, but it's hidden. And so I will show you what you want to do with that as well. Because the only way that this form down here can dynamically update is if the order select is also on the page and the element that you're purchasing has to be clicked. So this radio button has to be clicked. Whether you see it or not, it has to be clicked. So you either have to do it through JavaScript or have somebody physically come in and click on that button. But what we want to do is we want to hide this element. So we will hide that. And we will save our page. And let's just take a preview to see how it looks, because at this point we don't have any products yet. Okay, so we're looking real good. So now let's go, and we have to put a couple products into our form. So we'll click on products, and we will add a product. Okay, first product we're going to create, like I said, I've already done this once, so this should be pretty quick, was our one funnel away challenge, and the amount on it is $100. How we want it to display on the screen is as 100 with 2 decimal points. And for this, we'll just say it's our OFA. So that was simple enough. We create the one product. Now we have the second product, which is our order bump. So with that, we had our, what was that? It was a funnel audible. And in fact, let's just click on this to make sure. Is that what they called it? Yeah, funnel audibles with an S. Funnel audibles, which was $37. And we want it to display as 37.00. And we want this to be our order bump, so we click that box right there. And again, we will say funnel audible. And we will create that product. And then we have a third product, which is where the problem comes in with how this form works and why you need the special coding, is because of the $19 for the shipping. So they have $19 for shipping within the United States, but they have $29 for shipping outside of the United States. And so based upon which country you pick, it has to dynamically update and change the amount that you're paying for the shipping. And so that's part of what the problem is and why the special coding is needed and why that's way beyond the scope of what we're talking about now. So we have all of our products. So let's go back into our funnel and let's scroll down to the bottom. And what I want to do is find that element that I hid. So I'll go up to Elements, Manage, come down to the bottom. Let's show that element again. Let's save our page. And then let's click. Okay, so what it did is it automatically updated because we have this checked. The price of 100 automatically updates this order summary box. But if we click on shipping, it just puts it to 1995, and just straight out of the box, ClickFunnels cannot combine these two together. So again, that's a code. I'm pretty sure they have it available over at Funnel University, but just go in there and check it out, and if not, just get a hold of Jamie Smith and find out where he has this code available. The other thing here, as you see in the order summary on the other page, is they have an order total as well, which again does not populate here. So again, that's something you'll have to talk to somebody or just go to Funnel University and find it there. And you also see as we click on this box up here, it does also populate the funnel audible as well. So the page is working just fine and would be fine if you didn't have a shipping. So if you have just one product, if you have like a book offer and you're doing $9.95 free plus shipping. So you just have them click the one thing, which would just be the shipping cost. That would populate. You could have them do your order bump. That would populate as well. And it would work just fine. So the one thing that we have left to do is we have to set up, first off, let's hide this again. We have to set up how the page works, because as we came in here, let me reload this page. So as you come into the page, you fill out your name, city, all that stuff. Then you click on next step. And when you do that, then it opens up the next part underneath the billing. And again, the next step opens up this part. So let me show you real quickly how to set that up. First thing we want to do is we want to come in and we want to actually hide this row and the row with the credit cards in it. So we will hide that row. And in fact, before I hide that row, let me go back up to our rows, manage, and let me unhide that row. Before we hide that row, we want to come in back down where we're going to click on the hashtag, and we want to change the title. And the reason why is it just makes it so much easier to find when you're scrolling through this whole big long list of sections and rows. If you change the title, it just makes it easier to find. So this is order form section 3, and we'll come up to this section and we'll call this order 2. Okay, now we can hide these two sections. Sorry, 2 rows. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's save that. Now we're going to go into our button and we're going to set our action of this button. Set the action. What we want to do is we want to show an element when the button is clicked on, and that is row order 2. So we'll click on that. Now, because we already hid this row, let's go into manage our rows and manage. We're going to come down to order 2, unhide it there, come into our button, go to set action, and again we are going to show an element, but this time we are going to show element row order 3. We will now again hide this row, and we will save it. We will reload. And so when somebody comes into the form, fill out all their information, next step, opens up this next section, next row, another Next step, opens it up. And because we have the order select element hidden, and because the one funnel away challenge was already checked on there by default, we pick up our $100 in the amount. If we want to put in our order bump, we just click it there, and then we click here to submit. So that is it. The only thing we didn't really clean up was these two items here, and I'm going to have to do a little research and see what they did there, but this is just fine the way these are as drop downs right now. And again, there will be a share funnel for this inside of the members area, inside of CFninjaHacks.com. And if you're interested in that code that Jamie wrote for working on the order forms, you can always find that over at Funnel University. And I'll put a link below the video for that as well. So I hope you enjoyed this training today. If you got any questions, reach out to me at support@CFninjaHacks.com. Have a great day.